Welcome to the 3030 Health Podcast. The following discussion is for education and entertainment. It is not intended to diagnose or treat disease. Please do not apply any of this information without first discussing it with your doctor. Here is your host, Guillermo Ruiz.
Hello everyone, today's guest on the show is Andy Hnilo. Andy lives in Los Angeles, and as an athlete all of his life, he earned a baseball scholarship to UC Berkeley and turned down an opportunity to play professional baseball when he landed a role on daytime soap opera Days of Our Lives. Andy has walked the runway for numerous clothing companies such as Calvin Klein, Oakley, Speedo, and has shot over a dozen national commercials for companies like Michelob Ultra, Geico, Nike, Mizuno, and Coppertone. After getting hit and run over by two SUVs, he thought his career was over. But through nutrition and relentless hard work, he has found himself in better shape physically and mentally. I hope you enjoyed this show, and remember to visit my website, 3030strong.com. Hello everyone, I'm here with Andy Hnilo, and Dr. Noah DeCoyer just sent me an email and he said, Guillermo, you need to connect with Andy. And I'm sure your listeners are going to be fascinated by his story. Andy, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. So I like to start my interviews by asking, what's your hero story? How did you end up in this ancestral / paleo / biohacking atmosphere?
Oh, man. Well, I've always been into health and wellness. Nutrition has been a big part of my life as both an athlete and when I crossed over and I left playing baseball into the entertainment industry, and then having to be really just conscious on how we looked and how we presented ourselves. Health, wellness, nutrition, skincare, it's always been a passion of mine. But March 20th, 2011, I was in a big accident where I was hit by a westbound heading vehicle into the eastbound lane. Run over by an eastbound heading vehicle, and my world was rocked. I woke up in Cedars-Sinai ICU with my bottom of my chin puncturing the bottom of my mouth, and it broke 7 ribs, collapsed my lung, and had an absolute just the left side of my face was just in pieces. So very lucky to be alive. I took that attention to health, wellness, nutrition, and skincare just to help recover quicker. And just one thing led to another. I didn't, want to leave my house. I was very embarrassed, very self-conscious with how I looked. And I just, when necessity is the mother of invention, they say. And I just, I started doing my research on just how to recover quickest and how to look and feel like I did before. And that long story short led to where I am now, and I'm in the skincare industry. I have a company called Alter Naturals, but that's a long story made short there for you. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
And it's so important that what you said about feeling self-conscious about going out and doing, especially in your line of work, because within the naturopathic community, within this evolutionary health, there are some people that are doing aesthetics, and sometimes people scoff at it, but that could be the reason a person goes to the doctor and actually starts talking about thyroid health. That could be the reason people start, maybe it starts with something, let's lose 10 pounds and we'll get you better, and then what they don't know is that what you're giving them is an anti-inflammatory diet that is going to make them lose 10 pounds. And it also is going to change blood pressures, change glucose levels in the blood. And it's the same thing with like aesthetics.
Right. I mean, you never know exactly. Depending on the physician or what you go into the room to see for what reason. I mean, you never know what you can find. And it's all about feeling good. I want to feel my best. And if it has to come down to a clay mask that I'm wearing, or a morning tonic that I make, or the paleo food that I eat, I just want to just feel my best, because I'm going to exude the best energy in every situation, both personally and professionally, that I'm around. So I just know the routine that works for me, and it seems like it's working well for others who, have done the same thing.
Let me ask you, you hear it over and over that your skin is a reflection of what's going on inside. Could you explain to my listeners why?
So, a lot of your food in, just whatever you ingest is processed through the liver, and what you eat, everything you ingest is essentially going to be absorbed through the liver, and then metabolized through the liver, and then hopefully digested. And a lot of the time, where people are eating, dairy, nuts, sugar, grains, things like that, it's difficult to digest and difficult for your body to metabolize, and that shows up on the dermis. I mean, it just over time, the good nutrient dense vegetables, the good fats that you're ingesting, that's what generates the good elasticity, the strengthening of your muscles, and helps your frame just settle where it's supposed to be. I really believe that. Eating a nutrient dense diet, staying on top of your antioxidants, and strengthening the immune system. I think it's just the recipe for longevity, and that's what I want to do. I want to be here for as long as I can,
and functional.
Exactly, yeah, functional, and just move, be lighter on my feet, and then staying constantly hungry and learning like what the new latest and greatest of like what's next, what others are doing, and just being a sponge, and trial and error on yourself and finding out what works for you, and take what you want and leave the rest, basically, right?
And it's literally, like staying a little bit hungry because, like right now I'm doing a 3-day fast because I'm trying to just detox a little bit, take a little bit of the burden from my digestion, and I get a little bit of mental clarity. I do it for 3 days because I don't want to tax my hormones. After a certain time, then your body goes, okay, it's starvation time. But yeah, being mentally motivated to seek out this information. What are some of the things? I got a 2-part question for you. What are some of the things that you react to? And then what are some of the things that the beauty industry or the aesthetics industry has gotten wrong when it comes to skincare?
So the things that I react to are grains. I mean, I just, my body has trouble digesting them. Things like quinoa specifically, I'm unable to digest, and my stomach sticks out until it's finally able to pass through the system. I mean, it's terrible. So that's when I knew I had something there. What else is kind of makes me bark a little bit? I guess really big sweets, apples. I kind of, I react a little bit differently to. Also, and then to touch on what you were talking about with the skincare industry, it's just, I believe that, I mean, these big, heavily marketed corporations that are, making these large products with, the first 3 ingredients are always aqua, water, alcohol, glycerin, and then they start adding all of these stearates, parabens, and preservatives, artificial colors, little fragrances, sodium lauryl sulfate, foaming agents. There's a list that luckily you can refer to. So for the people out there with the very potentially toxic products, I encourage you to pay close attention to the ingredient rosters on your skincare products, because your skin is your largest organ, and what you put on top of it is going to be metabolized by your liver and be absorbed and running through your bloodstream within, I think, under 30 seconds. So it's very important to, what you put on top of it is healthy, natural, nourishing, just like, treat it like another mouth, essentially.
So for our listeners, what are some of the problems with having all of these additives to your facial creams or to your even shampoos and soaps? What are some of the ill effects of having those things?
Well, it damages the endocrine, your endocrine levels, your adrenals. I mean, it's just, I believe any type of synthetic formulation is just not, our body is not used to that. It's toxic. Anything chemicals, anything synthetically formulated, for the most part, shocks our body a little bit. I think our body and skin reacts best to ingredients from the earth, and so that is what we do with Alitura. And I just, in my recovery, I found it so difficult to find pure products that were effective, and that was largely the catalyst and what led me to creating my own line. I mean, I never intended to have a line, but I just wanted to create my own products for myself and my own recovery. So people started seeing what I was doing in my own little creative outlet. I would post every now and then on social media, so people would get like an idea of what I was doing, just to kind of show people that, hey, I have like this other thing that I do. I'm not like, this actor or whatever. I mean, it was kind of funny at first, and I'm glad I went through with it because I was a little hesitant, being a guy into skincare, especially, being an ex-athlete or whatever. It was kind of hesitant, but it was, at that point, I didn't really care, especially after the accident. I was just, I wanted to get back, and I knew that I knew that I had something with those products. I knew that I did. It's like, how do you go about it? But luckily, some people found an interest in it and knew that I was really passionate about it. And so they let me try my products out on them. And then a friend of mine owns a med spa, and she let me bring my product into her med spa, and she let me try it out on her patients that she trusted, and they fell in love with it too. And then the rest is pretty much just that started the little flicker of a snowflake, so to speak, of momentum that led to a lot more. So it's pretty fun for me.
Now, I was listening to a couple of your interviews in the past, and you talked about Manuka Honey.
Right.
Can you tell our listeners how you used it?
Yes. So I would make a paste of Manuka Honey, colostrum, a couple other essential oils, and then I would start adding things like cacao butter, beeswax, like I said, a few extracts and essential oils. This was all over time. But it was meant to help recondition and heal my skin. I had a long scar on the left side of my face from point of impact from the accident. I stayed extremely consistent with applying that Manuka Honey and that paste, which is now my night cream. And so, I just did my research. I mean, it's just, there's so much information out there, and especially when you're at a point of kind of desperation, like I just went to any end that I could, any lengths that I could to find and make the best products that I could for myself, because I wanted this scar. I'm telling you, you can't see it now, but it used to be just like a railroad track. I mean, it was just a chunk because it was a dent in my face pretty much, because that was where the bone was trying to go back. And luckily the bone filled out and is back looking somewhat normal now. But yeah, for a while there it wasn't. So I only had nutrition and skincare to kind of get me back to where I was. So.
And doctors might make a little side comment like, oh, chicks dig scars. But there is some I don't know, sense of maybe, that's not how it used to look. And there is some psychological effect to having a scar.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, people can say that. I just can speak for myself personally. I didn't really, regardless of being like whatever, a model and an actor, I just didn't like what I saw. And, I'm allowed to be, kind of self-conscious with that, and that's what I was. I mean, it was difficult to see that in the mirror, and I just if you want to solve a problem, especially when you're the one that is kind of experiencing those feelings, I mean, you just find a way to beat it. And I just took it upon myself to do my research and started listening, reading. I mean, when you're in such you're in a situation like that, I didn't sleep too much. It became my passion. I mean, I'm actually glad that I got into that accident, because my true purpose was exposed and brought to light, and it's helping others. So I'm very happy to be where I am.
And it started with then you start experimenting with different types of clays.
Right. So, go ahead.
And what got you into that track?
So I've been using a clay mask ever since I was 21 years old, and I had very bad acne in college. And so the only thing that I could experience noticeable results before I even started to dissect my ingredient rosters was this clay mask that I would do every Sunday night. It was one ingredient, and I just knew how effective it would be, and it just calmed any type of irritation. It would eat up any type of zit, pimple, infection, so to speak, on my face. It was undeniably effective, and I would do that every Sunday night. And it went from that one ingredient of calcium bentonite clay to researching spa treatments and kind of looking into other reputable vendors who had things like raw sul clay, pyrophyllite clay, eyelite clay, kaolin clay, bentonite, black kaolin clay. I mean, pink rose clay. I mean, you just name it. It became. I love putting on a good mask and how it makes me feel. I mean, undeniably the amount of circulation that it brings to the surface of the skin, and the amount impurities and toxins and heavy metals that it pulls out at the same time, I just felt so much better. And it also, helped my appearance as well with those zits, and helped minimize pores. I would have to do those Biore pore strips on my nose to help, to remove blackheads. But after I, stay consistent with the mask, I didn't have to do those anymore. So it was something that I've been doing for a while over time to just help me bring a good youthful glow and brightened complexion when I was in the entertainment industry. But after the accident, I really took it a step further and started adding certain things like seaweed powder, vitamin C, pearl powder, ginseng, and colostrum, which really took it to another level. It's a pretty popular treatment in a lot of med spas all around the world. So it's fun because it all just started. It took so long to formulate, but I didn't really consider it formulation. It was just kind of me tinkering away at my own little creation, my own little form of artistic expression, I guess, so to speak.
It's like when you start with like a paleo diet or any nutritional, new way of eating, you start with the basics and then you start incorporating things that maybe were not on the original plan, but make you feel better. And maybe there are things in the original plan that don't make you feel better. And you're just trimming, and then you start figuring out the right diet for you.
Tinkering away, trial and error, and different measurements of certain ingredients. I mean, you start off throwing things together. You find out what works for you, and you find out what doesn't. And that's the process of learning, right?
What are some mistakes that people are making right now in skincare? I know there's a couple of like very famous Reddit subreddits, like skincare addiction, and they are, people giving advice. What are some of the mistakes that you see people making that you could tell my audience right now to maybe consider not doing?
Yeah. So if you look at your ingredient rosters at the end, whether it's big brands, I'm not going to call them out, but you know who they are, the most popular brands, just read what the the phenoxyethanol, read about the yellow 5, the yellow 6 that gives you that gold glow in the serum. Those are artificial colors. I mean, you can get that exact same glow through using jojoba oil and calendula, sea buckthorn. I mean, you can make a beautiful color with the stuff that Mother Earth gave us, So I would definitely start paying attention to the things that irritate your skin, which are the artificial fragrances, the artificial colors, the stearates, the parabens, the preservatives. I don't want to eat, preserved canned food. I want to eat nice, fresh, vibrant, nourishing, nutrient-dense vegetables and fresh meats. And I don't think you should have to add the big, harsh potassium sorbate and phenoxyethanol, the sodium benzoate, citric acid. I mean, I could go on and on these harsh preservatives that I really think are counterproductive to healing the skin and causing more harm than they are helping us out. So I would just tell the users to just really do their research on ingredients. But I just gave you some examples of what to look out for in the toxic realm.
And your product line, is it just facials and masks, or are you doing things like shampoos and deodorants? And because there's a lot of need of things like that.
Products, we have a mask, a facial moisturizer, a body lotion, a serum, supplement, night cream. We are releasing a cleanser here, an organic fragrance, facial scrub, hair products, shampoo. Soap is a tough one because I don't want to add any foaming agents. We'll see. I mean, everything that I make is going to be stuff that I would use, like a drink to me. So
let me ask you, what kind of soap do you use right now?
I use Dr. Bronner's peppermint oil soap.
That's exactly what I'm using right now.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Gives you that nice little lather, I think, from that potassium hydroxide that kind of, I don't know, when combined with water, it kind of foams up a little bit. And they do a good job. I wish I could, and maybe I will. I'll try to kind of recreate what they do, but maybe make it a little bit better. Hey, that's success leaves clues. So I'm gonna kind of try to see what what they've been using and what they've been doing, and maybe try to incorporate it in something that I do down the road, whether it's body wash, hair care, stuff like that. But right now I'm focused on the cleanser, the facial scrub. The cleanser's done, excuse me. The fragrance is done. Facial scrub, we're just tinkering away at now, and it's just I love just making products that really get that wow reaction, that blow people away. That's what I don't want to just make a good product just to make it. I want to make like that something that excites me and excites others, and that I can speak passionately about. And people respond to that type of energy. When you have something you believe in so much, it really doesn't matter what it is. If someone's selling a crepe at the farmer's market, or a nut butter at the farmer's market, whatever it is, I want to hear their story. I love doing that. I love meeting the small business owners and just seeing, hey, show me your passion, and I'll buy. I just want to see how much you care.
Let me ask you. As a skin expert, what do you think about the dichotomy of the sun exposure and the need for having a little bit of a base tan in order to produce vitamin D, and then on the other hand, you see the experts, the MDs, and that's saying that you should put on sunblock every day, SPF 50, regardless. What's the balance there? What are your recommendations for your clients when it comes to sun exposure?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, this is all my opinion, but what I've noticed is just, you look at the sun brings so many benefits to plants and just our overall health and well-being of our planet. The vitamin D is such a powerful vitamin that we're often having to supplement with, whether it's droplets, whether it's pill form or capsule, or what have you. It's so important. I have friends that live in San Diego that went to University of Oregon that had to sit in front of a UV light for an hour a day because they went through flat out depression because they were lacking the sunlight. Now, obviously, they were raised in that environment, and that may have had something to do with it, not seeing that sun. But I really believe a good 15 to 20 minutes a day is, unprotected sun exposure is beneficial. But that's my opinion. I don't have, I'm not a doctor, and also if people have certain sensitivities to the sun, I recommend that they, wear sunblock. Everybody's different, but in my experience, I really recommend people and getting a good amount of sunlight. Those rays, those UV rays can be very beneficial and just in our skin's health, in our overall health and well-being, cognitive function, you name it. So I'm a big fan of just putting on a little bit of my moisturizer and getting 15 minutes. I just did it before I'm talking to you. It's I do it. I get a good 15, 20. I think Tim Ferriss said after 20 minutes you start burning. So just be careful of that.
Rob Wolf, and I think he was building up on Tim Ferriss, and he was talking about how, and I've been doing this too. Whenever I go to the beach or whenever I go hiking, I do 20 minutes, 30 minutes with no shirt, just full sun exposure. And instead of putting something to block the sun, I just put on a long sleeve shirt. And then, because I'm writing right now, I'm writing a blog post on this topic, how supplementing with vitamin D3, there are so many pathways that the conversion of sunlight into vitamin D3 hits that we are missing all of the other stuff that's happening after that vitamin D3 gets converted. So by just supplementing, we're missing half of the pathway. So maybe the benefits from vitamin D3 don't come just from having high levels of vitamin D3 in your bloodstream. Maybe it comes from all the different enzymes that you're activating. Maybe it comes from all of this different signaling that you're getting and getting that vitamin D3.
Yeah, well said.
Like, back in even early 80s, I remember going to the beach, and then people would put on baby oil in order to get a tan. So then you have this super hyper exposure of sun, and you actually have oil, so you actually burn. And then, so you start getting higher incidence of cancer, skin cancer specifically. And now the sun is evil and you shouldn't be outside in the sun without any protection. So we go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, it's and that mineral oil is something you really have to worry about, petroleum based, right? I mean, it's crude oil, essentially going out there and having the sun bake that into the dermis. You're asking for trouble. So yeah, if you're gonna go out in the sun, I mean, I would recommend even coconut oil, as basic as that is, that's okay.
That what does it have, like a 10 SPF?
I'm not sure about
something
that.
like that. Yeah.
I don't know if they're able to quantify the exact SPF amount. I've heard raspberry seeds actually really high as well, but the FDA is just regulating a lot of that stuff because people are making claims that it does have a certain amount of SPF, but I don't think it's been proved just yet. But that'd be great if it could.
So what do you use for like if you were gonna go on a long hike, or I saw that you were recently in Arizona.
Yeah,
I'm in Tempe. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I was all around there. Yeah. I do a brand called Keys, Keys. Solar RX is really good. I'm actually in the middle of making my own sunscreen, so that's not good. So I was using my own one of my testers. So it's good. It's good. It's very good. I need to clean it up just a little bit, but I think it's an SPF 30 right now. It's non-nano zinc base, so it gets very good absorption and also repels UV harsh UV rays, and it's as clean as can be. So I'm excited about it. It's got these things take so long, so I don't even want to give like a tentative release date, but it should be available soon. Hopefully by summertime. I don't know, June, July.
Hey, well, you're gonna have to send truckloads to Arizona because it gets hot.
Absolutely. I hear you.
How do you get around all these regulations, or how do you manage to go through this process of putting something from conception to shelf? Because at SCNM I do a lot of botanical research. So when you're talking about Schisandra and you're talking about, calendula and you're talking about all of these plants, kind of geeking out a little bit because I have done a lot of research on botanicals, and we actually have a product, that can fight HSV, infectious cold sores, and shingles, and, all of these different things so effectively. Like 48 hours, it crosses over, it doesn't hurt, but we are unable to really get it out and going. So how do you manage to go from like conception to actually having a deliverable?
I think the most important thing is having a large audience. Social media really helped me. Dave Asprey is a partner of mine with Alatura. I mean, he has the #1 podcast on iTunes for health and nutrition. It's like him and Jillian Michaels. I mean, you talk.
They go back and forth.
Yeah, they go back and forth. I mean, you talk. I mean, this was 3 years ago, and he had like 16 million downloads. Now he has like 60 or 70 million downloads of his podcast. And I mean, I've been on his podcast I've been on there 4 times, and so basically, the audience has definitely expanded through just people who saw my story from the beginning. So I kind of got a little lucky by having that influencer as Dave Asprey as a partner who pushed my product. But the only reason he pushed it is because he ran it through product management people who have worked with companies such as Sephora and you name it. I mean, they've released hundreds of products. And so once he gave Alatura Clay Mask a green light, he took it on his store, and he has such a large reach with bulletproof nutrition. I mean, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. I think we expanded to 40 countries within our first month.
Jeez.
And it was pretty crazy. So I mean, you get someone like that who backs your brand and is an advisor, an investor to your brand. I mean, it really helps. I don't really know how I would do it any other way. I guess just, it comes down to passion. I mean, I guess find someone who you believe would respond with your product. The thing is, they probably get hundreds of inquiries daily just on, hey, you got to try this, you got to try. So the same thing, how I was able to reach out with Dave in the first place. I just troubleshooted his email address. I mean, you got to want it, right? You got to pound the pavement. But that's exactly what I did, and the rest is history. But I mean, it does take you gotta find ways to get in there. You gotta find ways to show them your passion, your heart, and your hard work, and you gotta have a killer product. I was gonna say there's no real rhyme or reason on how to do it, but I just know what I did as far as just gotta stay on top. Paleo magazine, same thing. I didn't have a publicist, but I just kept emailing them. I'm like, hey, I really feel like you guys would like my products, and I just kept sending them samples, kept following up with emails, and it was almost like, all right, fine. I think it was one of those, but I was like the number one product they rated the most recent February, March issue. So that's something I take a lot of pride in, is just following up and maybe being very heavily persistent, and just it's something I really believe in. I believe it stands out on the shelf. It stands alone as far as product and ingredient integrity. And so when you believe in something so much, I mean, they can't really deny that passion and that stick to itness, so to speak. And just if you want something, go get it. Make it happen.
So now the flip of that question. You started within with trying to fix yourself. I had a health journey too. Why do you think this movement attracts so many entrepreneurs?
I'm seeing so many. I mean, entrepreneur is such a catchy term nowadays. I don't even think it's just health and wellness, and you name it. It's just everybody. Not everybody, but it's just becoming a very popular movement. People wanting to be their own boss and work for themselves, and that's great. I think that's inspired by a lot of strong-willed people that believe in themselves, and hey, you got to applaud that, right? So as far as health, wellness, and the people, what it is. Here's what I see. I see a lot of nutrition and diet coaches, health coaches. It's kind of a vague term, but they're people need help. I think a lot of people are kind of going through the motions and kind of not optimal when it comes down to health, wellness, and the basics. The thing is, they just don't know, and they see me eating sardines and avocado and celery and then combining it together. To them, it looks horrible. But you know what? They ask why I eat that way, and then if all you have to do is just explain nicely that, hey, I'm getting my good fats and a little bit of B vitamin from the avocado. I'm getting a little bit of calcium, believe it or not, from the sardine. I'm getting protein and good fats and a little bit of CoQ10 from the sardine as well. And I'm rounding it out with a nice little fibrous vegetable like celery that increases testosterone production, and it just makes me feel good. And you explain to them that it satiates me for 4 hours, and I'm, a bigger guy. If I don't have to eat for that long, it just makes sense. And then I work out later. And then it's just the whole process of staying lean and feeling light on my toes and feeling my best makes sense to them. So boom, now you affected someone. And the best compliment in the world is like just seeing them kind of do what they can to emulate that same meal. And then boom, now you've affected someone and basically help them, live a healthier life and feel better about themselves, hopefully down the road. And then maybe they'll do the same thing to someone else. I mean, it's a big chain, kind of like a ripple effect that you can have in the health and wellness industry. That's great. I applaud. Hey, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to get in there, you want to hopefully help affect others in a positive manner, then I'm all for it. But there is a lot of misinformation. That's just the nature of the beast. But I applaud it.
Well, the cream will rise to the top.
Oh yeah.
Now, I had a conversation with Stefan Guyane about diet and how we sometimes get things wrong, that sometimes we have to self-correct and say, you know what, I was wrong about that. And I see this trend within any of the factions of this ancestral movement, whether it's the paleo, the the bulletproof, where you start making things a little bit more complicated than they need to be. So like you start your paleo diet and you're eating a very simple diet, and then you start getting that honeymoon phase where you lost some weight and you feel great and you start telling everyone about paleo, and then you start doing paleo cookies and paleo pizza, and now the scale starts to go up. How do you fight that urge, to keep simple things interesting? Because that avocado and sardines and celery, it's not very fancy.
No, definitely not. And I switch it up every other day. I'm doing something. Tonight I'll probably do a little opa with a little garlic, cilantro, habanero, a little lemon. I mean, that I can't wait for that, right? I make things that are super healthy, but that I crave. I don't really, the paleo cookie, that doesn't even appeal to me right now. Now, don't get me wrong, a little bread pudding kind of does. Cheesecake, oh man, now you got me thinking. But I mean, I just, there are things. And also I like to reward you. When I go out of town, I'm a 95-5 guy. So like 95% of the time, I'm just locked in, eating things that I know I'll perform best and function at my best, optimal cognitive function, physical, you name it. But when I go out of town to Chicago, you better believe I'm going to have some deep dish pizza, Lou Malnati's, maybe a little cheesecake, you name it. I love living life. I have my jaw wired shut. I know what it feels like to be down and out. I'm very fortunate to be here. It could all end tomorrow, and I'm very aware of that. So I also live with a perspective. I'm grateful to be able to feel that way. I mean, I remember times in my life when I didn't, a can of tuna, an apple, and a Greens Plus bar, because I was on a big time budget, but also I wanted to maintain a very lean body phase, which I'm leaner than I was then when I was eating so, poorly for my frame. And it's just all about staying, keeping it fresh, but also just enjoying yourself.
It's funny, two things happen. First of all, your palate changes. So this super crazy, oversaturation of sweetness is no longer necessary, and a little bit of sweetness is going to be able to take over that. And then secondly, the more you learn about food, the like for example, liver and how great it is for you, I actually like liver now, and it is a process to cook it. I do soak it in milk, and then I pan fry it and I put a little curry in it. But it is something that is tasty now, where before maybe I was, I didn't want to eat it ever. So, those two things, psychologically, knowing what's good for you, and secondly, that change in palate are so important to fight your sweet tooth.
You're right. I just, you got me with that curry. I knew I was missing something. It was the curry powder. I got to go get that today.
Man, that curry powder, man. So like before, before I started this paleo thing, if I had like a stomach bug, or if I had any, you would go with the, glutinous chicken noodle soup. Now, if I'm like upset, if I get some cross-contamination, I just want some white rice with some ghee and some chicken curry. And that settles my stomach, and that's delicious, and that's nourishing, and like my body knows that that's what it needs. And I changed that. Instead of going for the saltine crackers and fake ginger ale, now I'm eating nutritionally dense food.
That's a really good point. Throw a little bone broth in there, a little chicken bone broth.
You remember how I told you that I'm fasting? That's what I'm drinking, man. I'm doing 3 days of bone broth.
Done this before?
Yeah, so Dr. Michael Ruscia, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He, whenever you have like SIBO or bacterial overgrowth, he has you do a challenge period. So like 3 days of fasting where you do either the master cleanse or bone broth. And I do it a couple of times a year. You just to reset, just to try to, when I flew to Spain to do some presentations, and, I was living life. I was having red vermouth and tapas all day long. I came back and the scale wasn't where I wanted it to be. So I do my reset, I do my 3 days of bone broth. And then after that, cravings go away. And now it's easier for you to fall back into your routine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, do you notice like an energy boost? Do you notice just like an increased mental clarity?
Mental clarity for days. The problem is that when you do a prolonged fast, then your body goes, oh shit, I gotta conserve energy because I don't know when is the next time I'm going to eat. So then you downregulate your thyroid, and then you're not as good as expending that fat or that energy. So then a couple of things start happening, like you stop fidgeting because you're like trying to actually conserve as much energy as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you probably appreciate everything that you eat, every meal.
Oh, well, after tomorrow, after 3 days of bone broth, you make, I don't know, a piece of grass-fed burger, with salt and some broccoli, steamed broccoli, and it tastes like lobster.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Andy, so glad you came on the show. Where can people reach you, and how can people get your products?
Sure. So I have a website called alituranaturals.com. That's ALITURANATURALS.com. I'm on Facebook at Alitura Naturals, Instagram and Twitter at Alitura Naturals, and same thing, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Andy Hnilo. That's ANDYHNILO. This is my baby. I'm happy to answer any questions where, things are moving, whether it's an entrepreneur getting started up, whether it's somebody out there who just wants to, find out more things about nutrition or skincare. I'm here. This is, I love doing this, and this is my absolute passion and purpose in life, I believe. So I appreciate you having me on. And if your audience wants to purchase any of the products, we'll just call it 3030. And I'll set that code up for a 15% discount code right now.
Awesome, man. That's fantastic. Let me ask you: are you going to be at any of the conferences?
Paleo Effects.
Awesome. I'll see you there. I'm going to be presenting.
Wait, no way! You're speaking there?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
That's awesome. Guess what I'm speaking on?
Hold on. I think I have an idea. Fasting.
Botanicals.
Botanicals.
Dude, I spent, I'm doing my naturopathic medicine 4-year degree. I've published a couple of articles on different botanicals. That's my passion, man, botanical medicine.
I like that. That's very cool. There's a big space for that, and you're helping people doing it the right way, without those harsh chemicals and that pharmaceutical, big pharma, based corporate mentality. I like that. So, I like what you're doing as opposed to that. So
I better see you sitting on the audience when I'm presenting.
Hey, if I can make it, I don't like to leave the booth, but that's the thing, is I never leave the booth. That's my time.
Okay, then I'll go see you.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I'll see you for sure. And if I can make your presentation, I'll be there as well. I appreciate you having me on. This is it's always fun for me.
Awesome, man. Well, nice talking to you, and I'll talk to you soon then at Paleo FX.
All right, sounds good. Have a good day.